Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of the Mr. Redder podcast. Our first story we'll be reading today. Random lady thinks my hearing aids are AirPods. After that, charged me an extra month and don't want to return my deposit? And after that, am I the jerk for telling my husband to quit waking me up? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take anyone's hearing aids. Quit lying. I know you're just listening to music. So please smash that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Random lady thinks my hearing aids are AirPods. Oh my gosh, I have one. Never did think I'd have a story for this sub. Wow, okay, I'm still in a state of rage. So I just got home from good old Mart of Walls. I knew pretty much what I wanted, so I didn't bother with a cart. Of course, I get distracted and I end up in the kitchen cutlery aisles, and I'm idly looking at things and putting them back on the shelves. I guess that made me look like a worker? I don't know how. I'm wearing a dress, whatever. So I'm hard of hearing. I wear hearing aids. They're rose gold and awesome. Cool tech in my ears. Since I'm shopping, I have no reason to think someone would be needing my attention, but this entitled mom was trying to get my attention. I see this woman and she says, "Finally, I've been chasing you down the aisles." I'm thinking I must have something loose or I dropped something. That she thought I was a worker just did not occur to me. "You really shouldn't wear those things while you're working." She's out of breath. Her little toddler's babbling away, oblivious. I'm still clueless. Wear what? The AirPods. Fun fact, as someone who is hard of hearing, I mishear things, and it took me forever to understand what she said. I thought she said, their pods. Whose pods? Your pods. What pods? I'm looking down at my dress, thinking something had latched onto my dress. As I put my head down, this crazy Karen grabbed my left hearing aid. It's squealing away and protesting, and I'm in such a state of shock. My aids are a part of me. I went from baffled to pure rage in a split second. "You give that back now." I clawed at my hearing aid, and I wrestled it back from her. I'm trembling at this point. "Don't touch me." Entitled mom's kid starts crying from the sudden energy change. "Look what you did. I was just saying you shouldn't wear those while you're working." I start walking away from her. "Get away from me. If you come near me, I'll call the police and have you arrested for assault." "What? Assault? But..." I growled at her. Yes, growled. And I walked away to find a store manager to tell them they had a customer who just tried taking one of my hearing aids. But then I left. I was too outraged to get back to my lackadaisical meandering. Quick edit. I did speak to a store manager, but after, instead of getting what I went there for, I left. People need to learn, aside from it being a medical emergency, keep your hands to yourself. Even if you did work there, what she did was still assault. I'm happy that she didn't break your hearing aids doing that. You would have had to sue her because she wouldn't have done the right thing and paid you. Sorry you had to experience that. Charged me an extra month and don't want to return my deposit? The contract of the apartment I've been living in for the past year recently ended. I had, however, forgotten of the 60 days written move-out notice until I was reminded by management 10 days before I turned in my notice. Though it is specified in the contract and it is my responsibility as a tenant to maintain them, I was still livid by the fact that they didn't have the courtesy to remind me all the 3 times they contacted me about renewing my contract and me verbally declining. All 3 times they said they had taken note of it, and me being the fool that I am, I believed them. Since I did not provide the 60 days notice before moving out in writing, I was forced to pay an extra month of rent that, regardless of my moaning and crying, was not waived. Throughout my panic, they kept reminding me that it was in the contract and that they couldn't do anything. Since I had to pay an extra month, I decided I was going to do everything in my power to get my deposit back, cueing the malicious compliance. I went through the entire contract. The contract specified that I was allowed to be present during the inspection as long as I provided a written notice in advance, no date specified, and that I had the right to any information extracted from the inspection. The contract also specified that the apartment has to be left in the same condition it was received, and that I was responsible for any cleaning fees from services they'd have to use. Before I actually start the juicy part of the story, I have to mention that I took detailed pictures and videos of the apartment when I moved in. Unfortunately, mine was incredibly dirty, even food in the carpets. I requested it to be cleaned, but they never came by and did anything, so I took care of it since I'm terrified of confrontation. But I still saved and recorded everything that was not okay, regardless of how mild it was. The day I read the contract, I emailed them requesting to be present during the inspection and that I wanted a copy of everything obtained from that inspection to compare with my notes. They didn't respond that day, so I took it upon myself to email them every day for the next 4 days until they got back to me with the following reply. Per the rental agreement move-out inspection, you may be present at move-out inspection if you notify us in advance in writing of your request. OP, you turned your keys into the drop box on 5/30/22 and never requested a walkthrough. The walkthrough inspection was already completed this morning. So I obviously forwarded all my previous emails asking if those were not considered in writing. Then they offered to redo the inspection with me present, but I was out of town, so I requested all the data they obtained from it instead, to which they agreed. To this day, I have not received anything from the inspection, but I did find out that they didn't actually do it until 3 days after they started. They did on that email via the bill they sent charging me cleaning fees and no deposit back. I was like, okay, since you're not going to send me what I asked for, I'm going to send you what I have. I highlighted the part where they lied to me about the inspection date, attached pictures of how I received the apartment compared to how I left it, very clean, and I made sure to include their timestamps. Advised that per the contract, there is no reason for them to charge me cleaning fees since it was in better condition than received. I also demanded my deposit back and sent them receipts of all products I used to clean the apartment, including a new vacuum, so they could refund me at their earliest convenience or I'd contact corporate directly. I also advised that I'd send them all the communication we had ever had, the lies they told me, and the rest of the video and images I have of the apartment. I honestly have no idea if I would have gotten anywhere contacting corporate, but it doesn't matter because within 3 days I got my deposit back and got refunded for everything I spent on cleaning supplies. I did leave a review in every site I could find, but the Google one got removed for some reason. Am I the jerk for telling my husband to quit waking me up? Without fail, every time my 29 female husband, who's 37, wakes up in the middle of the night, he wakes me fully up to ask me what time it is. Both of us sleep with our cell phones charging next to our beds, so it's just as easy for him to reach out and check the time on his own phone as it is for him to wake me up and ask. My husband says I'm being the jerk because I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I say waking me up for something meaningless that he can do for himself with less effort than he expends asking me shows a complete disregard for me and is really selfish of him. Now, I know you're going to say that I'm making a huge deal out of nothing, but it's not like this is a sometimes thing. He does it often, several times a week, and when he does it, it always takes me forever to fall back to sleep. We both work full-time jobs and have an infant. I do 100% of the nighttime baby duties because my husband commutes further than I do. So he says it just makes sense for me to let him sleep since he has to be out of the door before I do in the mornings. I need to be clear. I'm not complaining if he wakes me up due to the baby needing me. I wake up to his cries. I don't think my husband even hears it. My complaint is strictly that he wakes me up to ask me what time it is. I feel like he's being really selfish. Sometimes I just want to sleep too. Anyway, am I the jerk for complaining and telling my husband to cut it out, or is he being needlessly insensitive to my needs? Not the jerk. What's wrong with your husband? You are completely correct. This is inconsiderate and selfish of him to wake you up to ask you each time, and it's poor parenting and marital behavior to dump all the nighttime parenting on you. Is he this selfish in other aspects of your lives? Not the jerk. But just stop responding and let him think you're asleep, or just tell him to look at the phone. If you keep telling him the time when he wakes you up, even if you've asked him not to, he doesn't have to change his behavior. OP. I have started saying, well, what does your phone say? And then he moves to the couch because of my attitude. Win-win for both of us. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. This dude really wakes you up just to ask you what time it is? Bruh. You can't read on duty. Worked as a front office staffer, basically a secretary, back in the 10s recession. I was wildly overqualified at the time, but it was a hard job market and I needed to do things like eat and live somewhere. I worked on a staff of 4 other office workers with wildly different work pace styles. One did absolutely nothing except talk to his family on the phone 4 to 5 times a day. One watched ESPN with an earbud in, one managed and cultivated his social media presence for his daughter, and one was never there because she was always getting something from the supply closet or picking up lunch. So basically, I was youngish and naive and wanted to do an excellent job, so I picked up all the slack and did all of the work, and quickly too. I would always answer the phone on the first ring, reorganize the way we sent out calendar meetings, assembled read-aheads and skimmed them so I could give bulleted summaries, and just generally made myself indispensable. Given that I worked hard, was well known as the only competent one, I thought, like some sort of fool, no one would care if I had a book to read under my desk between taking calls, scheduling appointments, or just being a general customer service desk. If no one was talking to me, my job basically was in a holding pattern. Everyone was messing around. I watched the man next to me build a new Acura on the website about 10 times a day. I was wrong. The first time I opened my book, I got snide comments. The second time, one of the guys hustled over to moan at me that I could never ever read on the job, that it made me look lazy. Side-eye sports statistics fantasy league card in full view. I tried to explain that when no one was in the office but us, I thought I could just read quietly, and that if anyone called or came in, I would immediately stop and help them. We didn't have cameras in our office or anything watching us, but that didn't matter. I was chastised. "You should always look busy, even if no one is here to see it." So I did. I went online, found about 24 free PDF books, mostly classics, and emailed them to myself. I sat there and read through books all day on Adobe Reader and was commended for my intense focus and dedication because no one ever saw me clicking around a website. Well, you did tell me to always look busy. Edited to add the malice. In the end, I basically stopped doing a huge chunk of my job because I was now absorbed in my book. I wouldn't answer the phone right away, wouldn't see emails come in. Basically, got put down into a much less stellar service role, at least when helping them. Always on the money when the boss came around though. Am I the jerk for laughing at/embarrassing my brother-in-law in front of the entire family? Okay, my family and in-laws are pretty split about this whole thing, so Hub suggested this place to see what outsiders thought. Yesterday was my sister's engagement party. She's marrying my husband's cousin, funny enough, and she asked to have the party at our house since we have a huge backyard and she just wanted something simple, like a barbecue. I of course agreed, and the start of the day went well. Everyone from both sides of the family mingled, the grill was going, people congratulated the soon-to-be bride and groom, etc. Well, as everyone was loading their plates up to eat, I noticed my brother-in-law grabbing a plate and paused because I swear he looked different than he did when he showed up. I couldn't pin why at first, but when he sat down at the table, his mom/my mother-in-law asked him if he had trimmed his beard. That's what it was, his beard, which had been sort of bushy when he had arrived earlier, was now trimmed down and neat. That's when he looked at me and said he had hoped I didn't mind, but he used the trimmer we had in the bathroom to freshen himself up. I was confused because my trimmer and my husband's were both in our connected bathroom, which was off-limit to guests. But then it hit me. He'd used the cat trimmer I keep in the downstairs bathroom, the one I use to trim my 4 very fluffy cats' hair and shave off dingleberries to keep them clean. I must have looked just as shocked as I felt because Hubs was asking what was wrong and I ignored him and asked brother-in-law if he had used the small white trimmer that had been in the back of our bottom drawer in the bathroom cabinet. Brother-in-law flushed a little at being outed for going through our cabinets, I guess, and huffed but confirmed, "Yes, that one." And y'all, I lost it. I laughed so hard I thought I might choke. Even typing this out now is hard, cause just remembering it is making me laugh again. Brother-in-law got upset and asked what was so funny, and without thinking I just blurted out what that trimmer is used for. Hub started laughing too, followed by just about everyone on my side of the family and a good chunk of Hub's side too. At some point during the laughter, brother-in-law got up and called us all jerks before storming out. Mother-in-law tried scolding me for saying that in front of everyone. Some of Hub's family agreed, but Hub shushed her and said he shouldn't have gone through our stuff. I feel bad for laughing. I could have pulled a brother-in-law aside to tell him instead of blurting it out in front of everyone. Mother-in-law says I should apologize. Am I the jerk? Some edits for clarification. My soon-to-be brother-in-law that my sister is going to be marrying is my husband's cousin. The brother-in-law who used the shaver is my husband's actual blood brother. They're two totally different men. Sorry for the confusion. 2. No, we're not going to be gifting brother-in-law a shaver. That's funny as a joke, but not to actually do. 3. Brother-in-law did clean up the mess after himself, save for a few bits that got on the floor. 4. And I've decided to call him tomorrow so we can talk. Final edit. Okay everyone, brother-in-law came over today to talk, and I was worried he'd still be upset, but he wasn't. Well, turns out he does have a girlfriend, and when he told her about it, looking for sympathy I think, she instead laughed at him and told him that's the risk of using strange razors without permission first. He apologized for going through our stuff and said he was actually looking for some baby powder. Turns out he was, chafing from the heat. To be honest, it was really hot that day, so understandable, and he was too embarrassed to ask us if we had any. I know everyone said not to, and he deserved it, but I still apologized for laughing at him and blurting what the razor was used for out like that. He said it was fine, and he knows now he kinda had it coming. The best part was, he asked to take a picture with one of my cats, and I agreed, and he posted it to Facebook with the caption, "I've never felt closer to my sister-in-law's cats," which had me and Hubs cracking up. Seems he was just hurt in the moment, but after a day of thinking, he decided to let it go and just roll with what he knows will be a big joke for who knows how long. So that's the update, everyone. Brother-in-law and I are good. Not the jerk at all, but wow, that's funny. Who goes through someone else's bathroom cabinets and decides to groom themselves using a trimmer they find? I honestly expected it to be a trimmer used for personal bits, so the revelation that the trimmer is used for cats was an unexpected turn. I'd buy that guy his own personal trimmer as a birthday or Christmas present, but that might be taking it too far. Not the jerk. There's responses, and then there's reactions. You reacted to a situation/information that you couldn't have prepared yourself a proper response for. This reminds me of when my brother helped himself to a particular body wash of mine when we were both visiting my parents. I burst into laughter because it was Summer's Eve in the labeled branded bottle, and he got mad I told him it all. He's not upset at how you handled it, he's upset his actions were stupid, but he wants to be mad at someone other than himself. You only made it a little easier for him to do that since the reveal was more public, and that's easy to point to as the wrongdoing. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her brother-in-law? Please let us know. Maybe in the future he'll think before using someone else's hygiene products without asking them first. Am I the jerk for telling my friend he can't move into my house until he grows up? So I, male 23, fairly recently became a first-time homeowner. I've spent the last few months fixing the place up and turning it into a nice little spot. I have a friend who I'll refer to as Bobby, male 24, that I told could be a roommate after I got the house fully together and finished. Bobby has come to visit a few times during the restoration process so he can check out the area. He's from out of state. He loves the area and neighborhood and decided he wanted to live here. This is when I initially extended the offer. I figured it would be fun and would make life a little easier having a second set of hands to help keep up with the maintenance, pool, lawn, etc. Bobby initially told me that he's been working and saving to move out of his parents' place as he's been living with them for the last few years, and that he'd be more than willing to help out with yard work and such. Yesterday, we have a phone call, and he asks me when he can move in. I tell him that whenever he's ready, he can move in. We then got into a deeper discussion about expectations and boundaries and stuff, just so we were on the same page. That's when I find out that he currently has no money saved, just enough to get moved here, gas and a U-Haul, not even first month's rent. He tells me his plan was to just get moved in and find a job. I asked him how he has no savings as he works full-time and his parents are currently paying his bills and he's not paying rent. He tells me that he's been going out a lot because he hates being at his house. I then told him that I'd feel more comfortable if he had at least a month's rent/bills saved before he moved in, because in my old apartment, I had a friend move in under similar circumstances and he ended up just freeloading for 3 months. Bobby then gets a defensive tone and says, "So, you didn't want a friend moving in? You just wanted someone to help you pay your mortgage." I then told him, "I love you and you're always welcome in my home, but you can't live here until you do some growing up." I haven't spoken with him since, but a mutual friend of ours reached out and said I was being too harsh on him and should cut him a break. I don't think I'm the jerk here because all I'm doing is trying to avoid living with someone that has no real plan or money that I'll just end up taking care of. Not the jerk. I've encountered this breed before. Bobby says, "You don't want a friend moving in, you just wanted someone to help you pay your mortgage." Bobby means, "I don't want to move in with a friend, I just want to mooch off someone other than my parents." Your mutual friend is perfectly capable of cutting Bobby a break on their own. Not the jerk. The way he lashed out when you told him he needed to be able to pay rent and his share of the bills before he moved in combined with the fact that he saved up what he knew he needed to travel but chose not to save any money for living expenses, shows that freeloading is exactly what he intended to do. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Bobby? Please let us know.
Tell Bobby I want Hank to give me a call. I need some propane and propane accessories.
You are too expensive to fire. When I sold cars, we had a really nice showroom with large glass windows. One day, I was tasked with moving a powerful V8 sports car, which was in the showroom. I was supposed to reverse the vehicle into position, however, the floor had just been mopped. I put the car in what I thought was reverse, manual transmission. When I started to let up the clutch, I felt the wheel slip, so I thought, floor is slippery, just give it a bit more. I give it a little bit more, and the car launches forward into the large glass pan. Thank goodness it had a hardtop. When this happened, I freaked, let go of the clutch, and the car had enough power to break the glass pane. This was right before opening. The glass pane was massive that extended maybe 20 feet wide and 20 feet tall. I'm not sure, but it was big. All of this right before opening on a Saturday. I get called into the GM office, who asks me for the facts. I tell him what happened. He asks me if I'm okay with doing a breathalyzer. I agree. I hadn't been drinking that morning or the day prior, so I passed. He said, "Well, you're sober, so that's good." I go, "Yeah, I am. This was just an incredibly dumb mistake." He goes, "Yeah, it was." I ask, "So, am I fired?" He laughs. "You are too expensive to fire now." I ask, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you know how much it's going to cost me to replace that glass pane?" I go, "A lot, I imagine." He laughs. "Yeah, probably more than the car you used to drive through it with." I go, "Oh, wow. So I'm not fired?" He goes, "Oh no, I know you will never ever do that again. From now on, you're in charge of moving cars inside the showroom. Now get back to work." And I went back to work. I personally refused to move cars in the showroom for about a month or so. Eventually, I started doing it again and did not have another accident. No, I'm not giving you my personal property. I work front desk, night audit, at a hotel. I get entitled people day in and day out. I'm sure you guys can relate. But sometimes certain interactions just rub you the wrong way. Tonight was one of those nights. I'm in the office doing work off to the side, and up walks this woman. Nothing strange about her. She just asked for an iPhone charger. I told her we didn't keep them around property, and she peered around the corner where my phone was charging in our little office area.
You don't have a charger? Really?
Me. Well, that's kind of my personal one. Karen, looking at me expectantly.
And?
Me. And it's not the hotel's, it's mine.
And you can't just let me use it?
Me. No, it's my personal one from home.
Okay, and? You're really not going to give it to me?
Me. No, ma'am.
Are you serious? You're not going to give it to me?
Me. No, I'm not exactly obligated to give you my personal things. Like I said, it isn't the hotel's, it's my own.
Are you serious? Not obligated? Seriously?
Me. Sorry, it's just not something I'm going to do. Then, every time this woman passed by the desk, she huffed and puffed.
Not obligated. Not obligated.
Like a crazy person. It hasn't even been 20 minutes and it's happened twice. Honestly, why are people so unhinged? Would she give me something of hers just because? And why get so bent out of shape because of it? I came to learn she didn't have her charger because she left it in her car after the police impounded it. How did I find this out? She was talking to the poor 20-something-year-old boys in the lobby trying to chill about me. And the good sports were making eye contact with me and laughing while she went on and on about how much of a jerk I was. With me at the front desk and a few feet behind her. Karen.
Can you believe that front desk girl? I came down earlier and asked her for a charger, and she said she wasn't obligated to give me one. Can you believe that?
Guy. Well, I see where she's coming from. It is hers, right?
Well, she didn't have to be such a jerk about it, you know? I just needed it for a little while.
Guy. Oh, well, I thought she handled that professionally to me. We were sitting here when you asked. She doesn't have to let you.
You're serious? You're on her side? Come on, take my side. Tell me she was a jerk.
The guy is speechless. So yeah, that's how my night went. Luckily, the guys were good sports and laughed it off. They even apologized when they said what they needed to. Agreed with her, to get her to just drop it. My Karen mother won't let me go to work. Cast. We've got me, Dragon Crystal, myself. We've got Mom, my entitled mom. We've got Dad, my entitled dad, and Tim, my supervisor. Backstory. I've been in lockdown for 2 weeks, ended last night, because of my last shot giving me some side effects. Also, because of that, my work schedule account was inactive until my lockdown is lifted. Not to mention, a relative just passed, and my parents, knowing that my lockdown lifted yesterday, still dragged me along with them, while not allowing me to check if I'm on the schedule or not. Now onto the story. Like I've mentioned above, that I was in lockdown for 2 weeks and my work schedule account was inactive during that time, and I was unable to see if I was going to work today or not. I just heard about my relative passing last night before going to bed. I believe my workplace account reactivated around 6 a.m. of today, but I'm not entirely sure because my parents came bursting into my room demanding that I go and help babysit the kids, my cousins, while they helped set everything up. Me, drowsy state of mind. What? Mom.
Hurry up and get dressed. We have to go help out at our relatives.
Me. Mom, you know how much funerals freak me out, right? Mom.
Stop making excuses and get up now.
Me. Fine. Wait, last night was when my lockdown lifted. My supervisor might have scheduled me to work today.
I said stop making excuses and get ready.
The entire car ride there, they'd be peeking into the backseat and complaining at me to stop checking on my phone and to pay attention to them. Like I'm supposed to backseat drive or something. Not supposed to, I know. As soon as we arrive, I'm ushered into the kitchen by my mom, where my aunts were along with their kids, my fellow cousins, while my dad walks into a separate room with my many uncles. My aunts have been cooking and mourning over my grandpa, whom I rarely ever saw or knew. My mom immediately tells me to either help with cooking or just keep an eye on the kids, since I'm so used to being the babysitter for any relative's kids I stick to babysitting. 7 a.m. rolls around, and I want to check if I'm scheduled to work or not. I pull my phone out, and as I'm typing in my login, my mom steps over and screams at me to put my phone away, or I'm going to get punished. I'm almost 30, not 18, so I just slip my phone away again. 8 a.m. rolls around, and I sneak my phone out again. This time, my dad snatches my phone out of my hand and threatens to break it because I'm spending too much time playing video games and don't deserve to have a phone, before handing it over to my mom, who happily slips it into her purse. Great. 9:15 a.m. is rolling around now, usually the time my shift starts. I'm just constantly checking the kitchen stove clock, and I'm freaking out, thinking about how I'm going to explain this to my supervisor if he calls my phone and I don't pick up. I go over to my mom and ask for my phone back. Her smug response.
Why do you need it?
Me. Because I might have been scheduled to work today, and my lockdown was lifted yesterday. Mom.
I'm sure they don't need you today. It's Saturday, and we're busy here. Your dad and I don't have time to take you back home.
We were literally just sitting around, cooking and chatting. Oh, so busy. Me. Can I at least check if I'm on the schedule or not, so I can call out? Because we're usually the busiest on the weekends.
No. Stop wasting my time and go babysit your cousins or help cook.
I'm livid and just go back to babysitting, while dreading the call from my supervisor. Sure enough, a couple hours later, 3 p.m., an hour ago in real life, my mom finally hands me my phone saying,
"Oh, someone named Tim called you at 9:36 a.m.
Me. Dread fills my already shaken up heart. I told you that I might be scheduled to work today. Mom.
Well, I didn't know that.
How would you know? You don't work there.
You should have checked before coming here.
Me, boiling with anger. Maybe if you listened to me and had let me check before forcing me into the car, this wouldn't have happened. Now I've got a no-call, no-show marked onto my attendance. Mom.
Stop being so dramatic. It's not like you're not late to work all the time. That's why you were fired from your other job.
BS. Me, more angry now. I was laid off at one job, and that was my first job. For some BS reasons. Every other job I quit for my own personal reasons, or the cinema was because we got bought out, so everyone and myself lost our jobs because of that. Mom.
Well, you still got fired.
Before heading back to the kitchen. Well, forget you too, jerk. My dad, hearing us arguing, comes out to start complaining at me about being disrespectful. being an ungrateful brat, etc., before heading back into the other room. I'm just sitting in the hallway, private messaging Tim about my current situation, and his only response is, "We'll talk about it during your next shift," which has yet to be posted. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that no one was going to like the food she was serving at our wedding? To preface this, we live in the South, USA. I'm a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding, the maid of honor to be specific. Therefore, I'm helping her plan a lot of her ideas and DIY some stuff. Her fiancé is in the military and currently in a different state, so he can't help that much with the wedding right now on the little stuff. She likes sort of unique things and tries to fit into a certain aesthetic on almost everything she does. The other day we were discussing what kind of caterer she wanted. I told her that the first thing to do was figure out what type of food she wanted and then choose a caterer based off of that. Well, after a few days she texted me and told me that she found the perfect style food and was ready to go sample some caterers. I asked her for details, but she said she wanted to keep it a secret, but she wanted me to go with her to sample and I would find out then. I agreed. Well, when we arrived to an old Roman or Greek, I'm unsure, shop/place, I'm a little confused. She tells me to trust her on this, so I try and let it go as I like trying new foods anyways. The food we sample was just not something I like. It was olives, the expensive, strong-smelling cheese, and some random dried berries and nuts. I'm not a picky eater, but I just didn't like it, and I honestly wasn't sure how this could even be a meal. Maybe finger foods, but not a meal. It has very odd tastes. I asked my friend if her plan was to serve this as the main course at her wedding, and she says yes, along with some fruit. She's not vegetarian or vegan, and neither is her family or fiancé. She asked me my honest opinion if people would like it, and I told her I didn't think people were going to like it. As I said, we live in the Deep South, USA, and everyone has pretty basic tastes in food, which is what I told her. I told her this could be okay as like finger foods or cocktail hours. People still probably wouldn't eat it, but not the main course. It was really not enough to be a main course, even if it was good food. She called me a jerk, as apparently this is the only type of food that will fit her wedding theme. I would rather be honest with her now than people trash-talking her wedding because of gross food. Am I the jerk here?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.